Hello, everybody. It's Connie Stewart with SimplySimpleStamping.com. I'm so glad you guys could join me for today's video. We're going to be focusing on a creative juice sketch. If you're not familiar with those, these are just sketches to help get the creative juices flowing. And today I've got a very simple one. It's going to be great because you're going to be able to use up some scraps you might have laying around. Super fun cards. I'm excited to teach you how to create these wonderful little 5-minute DIY. So let's get started.
Well, let's talk about the creative juice sketch that we have for today. It's a very basic sketch, but it's things like this that help you when you're really struggling with your creative mojo. So you can see your card base is going to be a 5.5 by 8.5. And then we're going to have two strips here. One of them will be a 1.25 by 5.5. And then this white strip here will be a 1 by 5.5. And look, I say right here, this focal image can be anything you want. Get creative. I just have a circle here because the idea is that you create what you want right here. Let me show you the cards that we're going to create today. Well, let's start with the first card. And that's this card right here. So you can see how I used my sketch to kind of help me design today's card. This, where I said was your focal image, I decided to bring in the hand pen petals and the matching dies. This is the image that can be anything you want. And you can see here's my 1 inch by 5.5, and here's my 1.25 by 5.5. So now let's create a card. My card base is in polished pink, and then I have a couple pieces, actually 3 pieces of basic white to use here on my card. This is for the inside of my card because we don't want the inside to be blah. So I've got a 4 by 5.25 inch piece there. There's my 1 by 5.5 that we're going to stamp here. This is just a scrap. Mine is about, I think a 3 by 4, but that's going to give me this creativity right there. And the last thing, I've got Parakeet Party for my layer. Super easy. Let's create. Do you notice this fabulous embossed background? I did that with an embossing folder because it gave a lot of great texture to my card itself. My embossing folder is called Pretty Flowers, and I thought it looked so well with the flowers that I'm using there. So what we're going to do, let's start by doing this dry embossing on our cardstock. So I'm going to open up my card, and you see I've got that score line there at 4.25. And what I want to do is I'm going to line up that score line right here with the edge of my embossing folder. You can kind of see right where that's going to go. This is now ready for me to run through my embossing machine. And now we have a fantastic embossed cardstock on both the outside and on the inside of my card. Now let's go ahead and start to create our focal image. So our focal image is going to be right here. And I mentioned to you that's from the hand-penned petal stamp set. And this one also has matching dies that you can purchase separately. We're going to start with this image here, but I want you to notice how we're going to do our coloring. Do you see this is a 2-step stamp, so I can quickly and easily color this image. I'm going to start with a Memento black ink pad, and I'm going to ink up my main focal image here. Let's stamp that here onto, again, this was just scrap white cardstock. Give that a good press. We want that black ink to be nice, bold, and rich. While we have that black ink out, I'm going to bring in this other image from Hand Pen Petals. We'll ink that up in the black. I've got some grid paper underneath me because this is for the inside of my card. And you notice I'm kind of stamping off the cardstock. So I don't want to get that on my Stampin' Pierce mat, but we're going to have that fabulous image right there. I'm going to use 4 different ink pad colors for this. I have Daffodil Delight, Parakeet Party, Highland Heather, and Polished Pink. Let's go ahead and start with that polished pink. We're going to stamp that great big flower right there in the middle. And when you see this, if you're not familiar with 2-step stamping, this is why I love 2-step stamping, because coloring is that easy. It's just that simple to do. So next, let's move on to some Daffodil Delight, because some pretty yellow is going to look great with this card. We're going to bring in our next stamped image right there. We'll get another one right here. And then we also have the one here for the inside. By the way, with this stamp set, perfection is not the name of the game. We want it to have a nice watercolor look. Our next color, we're going to bring in our Highland Heather. And we have another stamp that will go right here. And I think I'm going to make this big flower purple as well. I do love the look of this Highland Heather, and it just lends itself so perfectly to these colors. Looks like the last thing we need to do is add our Parakeet Party leaves. Now, there's two different leaves in this stamp set. So, of course, with our bigger leaves, we'll use the bigger stamp. Looks like we've got a few here. And I'm going to need that grid paper underneath me for this one. So we'll just add those right here. Now we can come in with the smaller leaf. I can move that now. We're all good there. And we'll just fill these in. Look at that gorgeous, this Parakeet Party. So bold and so pretty. So now I can take that matching die from the hand pen petals. Look at that. That's going to lay right there. I can run that through the same machine, by the way, that I did my embossing with. We're going to be able to die cut this image. I am going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment, and I'm going to stamp it, about 1/3 of the way over. I'm just going to make a simple thanks card. By the way, this word thanks also came from the hand pen petals.
As always, I've got a free download waiting for you that goes along with today's video. It's got a picture of the creative sketch that we've got for today and pictures of the cards that I made. You can find those just by looking down in that YouTube description. You'll see a direct link to today's post, or just head over to simplysimplestamping.com. You'll find the post there as well. And download that, save it to your computer, or print it out. And next time you need a little creative juice, you'll have it right there at your fingertips. All right, let's put some cards together.
I'm going to center that up right there in the Parakeet Party, and now I'm going to adhere it onto my card. I want you to notice, though, that I have the corners hanging off. I don't want it like this because, that doesn't look good. So we want to make sure both ends are hanging off of our card, and then we can adhere that down to our card, and we're going to trim it off. I'll put it about right there. And as I said, we are going to just come right along the edge. I'll trim that. I'm going to fold my card and trim right along that edge. We're going to add our focal image with Stampin' Dimensionals. And I've removed those backings, and you can see my focal image goes right there. Now, we also have the inside. We'll go ahead and add the inside to our card because, boy, that really dresses it up. This is why I have always been sold on Stampin' Up! Stamps, because they come in sets. So everything matches. Everything looks like it belongs together. So there's the card, but we're going to dress it up just a little bit. And I thought the festive pearls are just absolutely perfect for this. I'm going to use the silver. They kind of look like those little candies. Do you remember those? I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool. And now, guys, we're just simply going to add the festive pearls wherever you feel like you just need a little glimmer and shine. They are absolutely beautiful, so no reason to get stingy on them. You've got lots to play with. Let's add one more, maybe about right there. And there we go. And you can see, really, these two cards came out differently. It was all based on where I adhered my strip, but that's part of the creativity. Let me go ahead and show you one more card. And this one's just a little bit different. You notice I used designer series paper as the base of my card instead of dry embossing. So our measurements were all pretty much the same. My designer series paper is a 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere that down. And I'm adhering that on a Blackberry Bliss card base. Now my strip is going to be in Mossy Meadow and Basic White. And of course, I've got a piece for the inside and a piece for my focal image. We're going to use a different stamp set now. True Beauty, gorgeous stamp set. We're going to get some great stamped images. We're just going to use 2 ink pads on this one, Mossy Meadow and Blackberry Bliss. I'll go ahead and start with the Mossy Meadow. By the way, my cardstock here, I think, is about a 2.5 by 4 1/4. Scrap is just fine. By the way, I got a little heavy-handed and I caught that edge, but guess what? We're going to be die cutting this, so I'm not worried about it. Now for the inside of my card, I want to make sure I don't get so heavy-handed. So I want to make sure I'm kind of paying a little closer attention than I did just now. Now in Blackberry Bliss, let's stamp ourselves a gorgeous flower to go right on top. I'll set that aside, and then I'm also going to stamp that flower here on that 2.5 by 4.25, because that's the one I want to die cut. I love this die set so much. In fact, now that I look at it, this would have made a great background for that card as well. But I must say, I do love my Awash in Beauty designer series paper. We're going to take the 2 matching dies here, and you're welcome to cut these out together or separately. It's whatever you feel most comfortable with. I know some people struggle when they're trying to cut 2 dies at the same time, so you feel free to do them individual. Let me go run this through my machine. You just saw me do it before. It's very, very simple to do. And now you can see that area that I hit with the edge of my stamp. Nope, it's die cut out. You don't even see it. Just like we did before, we will adhere our 2 sentiment pieces together. This time I'm going to say you're a true friend, but this time I think I want to put it over here on the right side. So just kind of like we did before, leave yourself enough room for trimming. You are a true friend. We can now adhere that onto our card. Remember, there's no right or wrong where that goes. Let's trim it down. We're now going to add our images here. I'm going to actually bring in some mini Stampin' Dimensionals because that stem is awfully thin. So I don't want my dimensionals to show, but I do want them on there. For up here, I can go ahead and use my full-size dimensionals. This is why I love having both sizes on hand. Now I'm going to put some dimensionals here on my flower. I think the dimensionals really add so much to the image. You know, it kind of pulls itself away from the designer series paper. Now, just like I added those festive pearls, I'm going to bring in some of the gold ones for this card. I think that Blackberry Bliss looks so nice with the gold. I'm going to add 5 of these right down here. You can add fewer, you can add more. It's whatever you want to do. Remember, it's your creativity, it's your creative juice. And of course, we've added the inside of our card, so we're ready to write our message. My friends, that's it. What a great idea to create 2 cards very differently using one creative sketch. And let me also say, don't look at your sketch just this way. You could put it this way, or this way, or this way. Again, it's just an idea to get the creative juices flowing, but turn it around, mix it up, have some fun creating your own version of the creative juice sketch for today.
Thank you so much for stopping by. If you liked the video, I'd love a thumbs up on YouTube. Thank you so much for that. And if you haven't subscribed, why not click that great big red subscribe button? Click the bell right next to it. That way YouTube can let you know whenever I'm back with a new video. That's all for me today, my friends. See you next time. Bye-bye.